Ava Sinclair hadn't planned to be on that flight. It was supposed to be a simple trip, just one connection, one night, and a new start in New York City. But flight delays, a cancelled ticket, and a thunderstorm had left her stranded in the airport until the last plane of the night. By the time she boarded, exhaustion felt like lead in her bones. Her eyes burned, her backpack strap dug into her shoulder, and her phone battery blinked red. The cabin lights were dim, the air thick with sleep and murmurs. She slid into her window seat, clutching a paper cup of lukewarm coffee. Just 3 hours, she whispered to herself. Then it's all going to change. She didn't know how right she was. When she looked to her right, the man beside her was already seated. Broad shoulders under a dark suit. His presence filled the space like quiet thunder. His hands rested calmly on his lap, strong, still, composed. Ava glanced once, twice, and quickly looked away. Everything about him screamed control. Too perfect, too intimidating. She guessed he was the kind of man who owned skyscrapers or entire cities. She pressed her forehead against the cool glass, eyes growing heavy. Don't fall asleep, she told herself. But the hum of the engines was steady, hypnotic. Her body didn't listen. Minutes passed. Then, without meaning to, her head tipped sideways and rested against his shoulder. He didn't move. Not at first. Lucian Vale froze, his entire body tensing as though the world had stopped breathing. His golden eyes flicked toward the sleeping girl leaning against him. The scent that drifted from her hair, soft, human, familiar, hit him like lightning. He had spent years mastering control. But now, his heartbeat thundered in his chest. Pulse, spark, bond. It hit him so hard he had to grip the armrest to stay still. The faintest hum of energy raced through his veins, primal and ancient. He hadn't felt that pull in decades, not since the prophecy had first been whispered. The human will save or doom the Alpha King. Well, impossible. He was the Alpha King of New York. The moon goddess had given him strength, not weakness. And yet here she was, human girl, fragile, sleeping against his shoulder as if the universe had never feared him. When the plane jolted in turbulence, her body shifted closer. Her hand brushed against his. The spark turned into a blaze. Her eyes fluttered open. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she gasped, pulling away, cheeks flushing with embarrassment. I didn't mean to." He caught her gaze. And everything stopped. Her words vanished, her breath caught. His eyes weren't just brown or gold. They glowed faintly like molten amber caught under moonlight. Not human. Not possible. "What?" she whispered, her heart stuttering. Lucian's jaw clenched. His wolf stirred beneath his skin. He could feel the bond anchoring itself. Ancient, unbreakable, undeniable. He leaned closer, voice low and smooth like smoke. "You shouldn't apologize for fate." "What?" Ava blinked, her pulse racing. He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that promised danger. "The moment you touched me, the bond was sealed." She stared, half in disbelief, half in panic. "Bond? What are you even talking about?" Lucian didn't answer right away. Instead, he let his hand hover inches from hers, testing the invisible current between them. The air thickened, the hum of the engines fading under the pounding of her heart. When their fingers brushed, a jolt ran through both of them. Sharp, electric, alive. Ava gasped, snatching her hand back. "What was that?" "Destiny," he murmured. Her breath caught. "You're insane." "Maybe," he said softly, "but that doesn't make it untrue." For a moment neither spoke. The rest of the cabin was quiet, passengers dozing, flight attendants murmuring. But between them, something was happening that defied every law of reality. Ava pressed a hand to her chest. "I don't even know you." "You will," Lucian said simply. His tone wasn't a threat, it was a promise. "My name is Lucian Vale." She frowned. The name tickled her memory. She'd heard it somewhere. In news headlines, maybe? "Wait. Are you that Lucian Vale? The billionaire?" He tilted his head slightly. Among other things. Eva blinked. Okay, this is officially the weirdest night of my life. He leaned closer, eyes glowing faintly again. It's only the beginning, Ava. How do you know my name? She asked sharply. Lucian's lips curved. I told you. Fate. Her throat went dry. Something deep in her chest, the part that had long stopped believing in anything magical, stirred. The moon beyond the clouds shone through the window, casting a pale light on both of them. Lucian's voice dropped lower, rougher, edged with something that made her shiver. You feel it, don't you? Ava swallowed hard. I don't know what I feel. Yes, you do, he whispered. Your heart knows me. Before she could speak, the plane jolted again, lights flickering. The passengers gasped. Lucian's hand shot out, steadying her arm, firm but careful. His touch burned through her sleeve like fire. She looked up and froze. His eyes weren't human anymore. They glowed fully gold, feral and beautiful, like sunlight through amber. Her voice broke into a whisper. What are you? Lucian's answer was calm, final. Your fate. When the plane landed, dawn hadn't yet broken. The world outside was still a smear of fog and tarmac lights. Ava's hands trembled as she unbuckled her seatbelt. She had spent the last hour pretending the man beside her didn't exist. Except she could still feel him. His energy. His warmth. His gaze even when she wasn't looking. He hadn't spoken again after that final word, fate. But every time she tried to breathe, her chest tightened, as though something inside her was chained to him. The moment the plane stopped, he stood first. Impossibly graceful. His dark suit was unwrinkled. His expression unreadable. He turned to her and said quietly, Follow me. What? Well, I'm going to the terminal like everyone else. He gave her one long look that made her heart stutter. You won't make it that far. Eva frowned. Excuse me. But when she looked around, something strange hit her. The other passengers moved in slow motion. Their faces blurred. Their footsteps sounded distant, unreal. She blinked hard. What's happening? Lucian's voice was low, steady. You stepped into my world the moment you touched me. The ordinary world won't hold you anymore. That doesn't make any sense. He sighed softly, like a man used to disbelief. It never does at first. The flight attendants opened the door, and a rush of cold air swept through the cabin. Outside, instead of the usual airport gates and buses, sleek black SUVs waited beside the plane. Men in dark coats stood silently in formation. Ava's stomach dropped. What is this? Lucian extended a hand. His expression calm but his voice edged with command. Safety. For you. For now. She hesitated, shaking her head. No. I'm not going anywhere with you. I don't even know who you really are. He stepped closer, his height swallowing the space between them. His scent, clean smoke and rain, wrapped around her. You know enough, he said quietly. You know your pulse matches mine. You know you can feel me even when you close your eyes. Her lips parted, words failing her. Then, softly, almost like a confession, he said, Because you are mine. Her breath hitched. You don't get to say that to me. His eyes softened, though the gold in them still glowed faintly. I didn't choose the bond, Ava. Neither did you. But it's real. And if you walk away from me right now... He paused, his voice lowering to a dangerous whisper. The bond will break you. Break me, she echoed, shaking. Yes, he said simply. Humans aren't meant to carry this connection. You'll feel it tearing through your body until it either kills you, or you come back to me. Ava stared at him, horrified. You're crazy. Maybe, he murmured. But I'm also right. She shoved past him, desperate to prove him wrong. Her steps wobbled, the air growing heavy. She barely made it to the aisle before the world tilted. Pain shot through her chest. Hot, electric, unbearable. She gasped, grabbing the seat for balance. What's happening? Lucian's voice was closer now, rougher. I told you. The bond is sealed. He reached her in 2 strides, catching her before she fell. Breathe, Ava. Look at me. Her vision blurred. Through the haze, she saw the faint glow in his eyes again, warm gold like sunrise through fog. It calmed the storm inside her, slowed her heartbeat until the pain eased. Her hands clutched his shirt, breath shaking. What are you doing to me? His answer came softly, almost regretfully. Saving you. When she opened her eyes again, they were outside. She didn't remember walking. The plane behind them glimmered in the mist, the city lights far beyond the runway. Lucian guided her toward the waiting SUVs. Men bowed their heads as they passed, murmuring, Alpha. Ava froze. What did they just call you? Lucian didn't slow his steps. It's one of my titles. Alpha, she repeated, disbelief cracking her voice. Like what, a wolf pack? He met her gaze. Exactly that. She laughed once, short and nervous. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. You expect me to believe. Before she could finish, one of the guards turned his head. For a split second, his pupils flashed gold, sharp and predatory. Ava stumbled back, eyes wide. Lucian caught her wrist gently. You don't have to believe, he said softly. You only have to see. She stared at him, trembling. You're saying you're a wolf. A werewolf, he corrected calmly. The Alpha King of New York. The one every pack answers to. Ava shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. This isn't real. Reality doesn't care what you believe, he said. It only demands that you survive it. She yanked her hand free. Then let me survive on my own. Lucian's jaw tightened. You can't. Not anymore. The moment the moon chose you, your fate was sealed with mine. The moon chose me, she said, incredulous. He nodded once. The moon goddess marks only one mate for every Alpha King. You were chosen long before this flight ever existed. That's insane, she said, voice shaking. I'm just a person. I have bills, rent, student loans. This isn't my world. Lucian took a slow breath, his expression unreadable. It wasn't. Until tonight. He took a step back. You can't keep me here. He looked at her then, really looked, and for a heartbeat the fierce Alpha disappeared. In his place was a man who looked haunted. I don't want to cage you, Ava, he said quietly. But if you walk away from me now, others will find you first. And they won't ask for your permission. Her throat tightened. Others. He nodded toward the fog. There are wolves who would kill for a chance to end me, and the one the goddess marked for me. Ava didn't answer. She couldn't. The weight of his words sank like ice into her chest. The SUV door opened behind him. Lucian extended his hand once more, patient but firm. Come with me. You'll be safe under my protection. Just for tonight. Her mind screamed no. But her body, her heart, the strange warmth thrumming through her chest whispered yes. She stared at his hand. Big, steady, scarred from battles she couldn't imagine. Her fingers trembled as she reached out and placed her hand in his. The moment their skin touched, the air pulsed with heat. Lucian's jaw flexed as though he were holding back a growl. There, he murmured, eyes glowing again. The bond accepts you. I didn't agree to anything, she whispered. He smiled faintly, though it didn't reach his eyes. The moon doesn't ask for agreement. It only takes what's already written. As the SUV doors closed and the city lights swallowed them whole, Ava pressed her hand to her chest. Her pulse beat in rhythm with his. She could feel it, steady, powerful, terrifying. Lucian looked out the window, his reflection shadowed by the moonlight. You've stepped into my world, Ava Sinclair, he said softly. And nothing will ever be the same again. The car drove into the mist, leaving the sleeping city behind. And somewhere above, the moon shone brighter, watching, waiting. The drive from the airfield felt endless. Ava sat pressed against the leather seat, her fingers gripping the edge of her coat. Outside, the fog swallowed everything. No city lights, no highway signs, just the hum of the engine and the ghostly shapes of trees gliding past. Lucian sat across from her, silent, his gaze fixed on the darkness beyond the window. The silence between them felt alive, heavy with questions she was too afraid to ask. Finally Ava spoke, her voice trembling. "Where are we going?" Lucian's golden eyes flicked to her. "Home." "That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters." The car turned off the main road, tires crunching on gravel. Through the fog, a massive iron gate appeared, tall, ornate, crowned with the shape of a full moon. The guards standing beside it bowed as the SUV approached. Ava's stomach tightened. "Who are they?" "My pack," Lucian said simply. The gates opened without a sound. The car rolled forward into a long tree-lined drive. At the end stood a mansion so enormous it looked more like a castle. Black stone walls, sharp towers, and windows that flickered faintly with firelight. "This is your house?" she asked quietly. Lucian glanced at her. "It's more than a house. It's a territory." When the car stopped, a woman in a sleek black coat stepped forward to open the door. Her eyes, sharp and silver, studied Ava for a long, cold moment. "So this is her," the woman said, her tone unreadable. Lucian's voice was calm but carried an edge. "Show her respect, Cassandra." The woman's lips twitched in something that wasn't quite a smile. "Of course, Alpha." Ava stepped out into the cold air, her breath forming a pale mist. The mansion loomed above, ancient and beautiful but menacing too, like it held 1,000 secrets. Inside, the air was warm and rich with the scent of smoke, pine, and something wilder beneath, fur and earth. The floors were dark wood, the chandeliers dripping silver light. Wolves carved in marble guarded the staircases. Ava turned slowly, whispering, "You live like a king." Lucian's reply came softly, "I am one." Before she could respond, Cassandra appeared again. "The council will want to see her soon," she said. Lucian's jaw tensed. "They can wait." "They won't," Cassandra said, her tone respectful but firm. "You've broken a law. You've claimed a human." Ava froze. "Claimed?" Lucian looked at her then, his expression caught between defiance and regret. "It means what you think it means." Her chest tightened. "You keep saying that word like it's normal. I didn't agree to be anyone's, anything." "I know." His voice softened, a hint of guilt flickering behind his calm. "But the moon doesn't wait for permission. When it binds forever." Ava stared at him, her pulse racing. "So what? I'm just stuck with you now. Like some mystical accident." Lucian didn't answer right away. He walked to the fireplace, staring into the flames. "It wasn't an accident," he said at last. "It was prophecy." Before Ava could demand more, Cassandra cleared her throat. "Your room is ready, Luna." Ava blinked. "Luna?" Lucian turned back to her. "It's what we call an alpha's mate." "I'm not your mate," she snapped. He stepped closer, his presence swallowing the space between them. "Then explain why your heartbeat matches mine." She opened her mouth, but the words died on her tongue. She could feel it, the strange rhythm in her chest syncing with his, steady and wild all at once. Lucian's expression softened. "Rest. Tomorrow you'll understand more." She wanted to argue, to demand answers, but exhaustion dragged her down. The woman, Cassandra, led her up a grand staircase to a guest room. The space was beautiful, almost unreal. Velvet drapes, a canopy bed, a view of the misty forest. Ava set her bag on the floor and turned to ask Cassandra something, but the woman's expression stopped her. "You shouldn't trust him," Cassandra said quietly. Ava frowned. "You mean Lucian?" Cassandra nodded once. "He means well, but the moon's mark changes everything. Humans never survive it long." "Survive?" Ava whispered. "Sleep well," Cassandra said, ignoring the question. Her silver eyes gleamed before she turned and walked out, the door closing softly behind her. Ava stood in silence. Somewhere beyond the walls, wolves howled under the fading moon. She crawled into bed, pulling the blanket to her chin. Her heart still beat in that strange rhythm, echoing his. As her eyes fluttered shut, she thought she heard a whisper in the back of her mind. Soft, feminine, ancient. The bond will either crown or destroy. She woke with a start, heart pounding, the whisper fading into silence. Morning light filtered weakly through the curtains. Ava blinked, momentarily disoriented. For a moment, she thought the mansion had been a dream. Then she saw the stone walls, the velvet drapes, and remembered everything. Ban. The wolves. Lucian. Her heart sank. Oh, it wasn't a nightmare, she muttered. She found a robe folded at the foot of the bed and slipped it on. Her backpack was placed neatly on the table beside a tray of food. Fresh fruit, eggs, and tea that was somehow still warm. As she poured a cup, she caught sight of herself in the mirror. Her skin was pale, her eyes shadowed from sleeplessness, but something else stood out, an almost invisible shimmer around her wrist, like faint silver light beneath the skin. She rubbed at it, but it didn't fade. Footsteps approached. Lucian appeared in the doorway, dressed in a dark shirt and tailored pants, every inch the commanding figure she remembered. "Morning," he said quietly. Ava crossed her arms. "Do you always barge into women's rooms uninvited?" His lips curved faintly. "Not usually. But I heard you scream." "I didn't scream," she began, then paused. "Wait, did I?" He nodded once. "The bond causes dreams. Sometimes warnings." "Warnings about what?" Lucian's gaze flicked toward her wrist. "You'll learn soon enough." She followed his gaze, realizing he could see the same faint glow. "What is it?" "The mark of the moon goddess," he said softly. "She's watching." A chill crept down her spine. "That's not creepy at all." He almost smiled. "You'll get used to it." "I don't want to get used to it," she snapped. "I want to go home." Lucian's expression hardened slightly. "This is your home now." "No," she said, shaking her head. "You don't get to decide that for me." Before he could answer, a loud crack echoed through the hallway. The smell of smoke hit her nose. Lucian's head snapped toward the door. "Stay here." He disappeared before she could protest. The next second, shouting erupted downstairs. Ava hesitated only a moment before running after him. The air grew thick with smoke as she reached the grand hall. Flames licked the edges of the staircase. Servants rushed with buckets of water, shouting orders. Lucian stood in the center of the chaos, his power radiating like heat itself. He moved his hand once, and the flames flickered as though obeying him. Ava's gaze followed the line of fire and froze. Her suitcase was burning. She ran forward. "That's my stuff." Lucian caught her arm before she could get too close. "It's not the fire that matters," he said tightly. "What are you talking about?" "It's everything I own." He pulled a small charred paper from the flames and handed it to her. The words were scrawled in black ink, jagged and cruel. "Leave or burn next." Ava's throat tightened. Who would do this? Lucian's jaw clenched. His eyes flashed gold, brighter than before. "Someone who doesn't fear me enough." "Lucian." He released her arm and turned to the guards. "Find them," he ordered. "Now." The command carried through the room like thunder. Even the flames seemed to shrink from his voice. Ava stared at him, half terrified, half in awe. "You can't just." He looked at her sharply. "I can do whatever I must to protect what's mine." "I'm not yours," she shouted. He stopped. For the first time, something flickered behind his eyes. Hurt, confusion, maybe even fear. Then it was gone. "You keep saying that," he said softly. "But the bond doesn't care." Before she could argue, a new voice cut through the smoke. "She doesn't belong here." A group of figures entered the hall, cloaked in silver and gray. Their presence filled the room with icy authority. "The council," Lucian muttered. The one in front, an older man with silver hair and cold blue eyes, looked at Ava like she was a problem to be erased. Alpha King, he said. We warned you. A human cannot be Luna. She is chosen by the goddess herself, Lucian growled. The elder's eyes narrowed. Then let her prove it. Lucian's voice turned sharp. She's not ready. A murmur spread through the council. Every Luna must face the trial, another said. If she survives, she is worthy. If not, the prophecy was false. Ava's stomach turned cold. Trial? What trial? The elder smiled thinly. One night in the wild forest among the feral wolves. If you live until dawn, the moon will accept you. That's insane, Ava whispered. I'll die out there. Lucian stepped forward, his voice a low growl. You will not touch her. But the council's voices rose in unison, a chant that made the floor tremble. Blood oath. Blood oath. Ava's pulse pounded. Fear clawed at her throat. She looked at Lucian. His jaw was tight, his eyes wild with conflict. I can't let them do this, he said under his breath. She swallowed hard. If I don't do it, they'll never stop coming for me, will they? He looked at her, pained. You don't understand the danger. Maybe not, she said quietly, but I understand fear. I've lived with it long enough. I won't run from it anymore. For a moment neither spoke. Then Lucian nodded slowly, resignation and admiration warring in his eyes. Then I'll prepare the gates. As the council turned to leave, the elder glanced back, his smile cold. At sunset she enters the forest. If she returns at dawn, she will be Luna. If not, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The moment they left, silence fell again. Smoke still hung in the air. Ava stood frozen, staring at the ashes of her life on the marble floor. Lucian approached her, voice low. You shouldn't have agreed. She looked up at him, her eyes fierce despite the tremor in her hands. You said fate doesn't ask permission, right? Then maybe it's time I stop asking too. Lucian's lips parted as if to speak, but no words came. Outside, the sun dipped low behind the forest. The shadows lengthened across the courtyard. The trial of the Luna had begun. The sun was sinking when the gates opened. The forest loomed beyond the stone walls, a wall of ancient trees tangled in mist, their branches twisting like claws. The air hummed with something old and alive, something that seemed to breathe in rhythm with her pounding heart. Ava stood before it, trembling. The heavy chains of the gate rattled as they lifted, and she caught her reflection in the cold metal. Pale face, wild eyes, barely holding it together. Behind her, Lucian stood tall, every line of his body tense. His golden eyes blazed in the dying light. You don't have to do this, he said again, his voice low but firm. Ava forced herself to meet his gaze. If I don't, they'll never stop coming for me. You're human, he said sharply. They've thrown wolves into that forest and never seen them again. She swallowed, but her voice didn't waver. Then maybe it's time a human showed them we don't break so easily. Lucian stepped closer, his aura pulsing with restrained power. You don't understand what's inside those woods. The ferals are madness given form. They'll tear through anything that breathes. I'm scared, she whispered. But I'm not running. His eyes softened for the first time. He brushed his thumb against her cheek, a fleeting touch that sent warmth through her chest. Survive, he said hoarsely. Or I burn this world down for you. Before she could answer, the council's elder raised his staff. It is time. Cassandra, standing behind Lucian, smirked faintly. Good luck, little Luna. The gates creaked open, the sound like a groan from the earth itself. The scent of moss, blood, and old magic drifted out. Ava took one step forward, then another. The moment she crossed the threshold, the gates slammed shut behind her. Darkness swallowed her whole. The forest was silent at first. Too silent. No birds. No rustling. Just the sound of her own breathing. She tried to move quietly, every twig snap making her flinch. The trees seemed to lean closer the deeper she went. Fog clung to her ankles, thick and cold. She muttered to herself, "It's just trees. Just a forest." A low growl answered from the shadows. Her pulse shot up. She spun around, squinting into the darkness. "Hello!" A pair of glowing eyes blinked back at her. Then another. And another. Her breath hitched. Wolves. Dozens of them. But they weren't like Lucian's pack. These were twisted, scarred, broken, their eyes clouded white with rage. Feral wolves. They circled her slowly, the sound of their growls vibrating through her bones. She stumbled back until her shoulders hit a tree. "Stay back," she warned, though her voice shook. "I'm not here to hurt you." A monstrous wolf stepped forward, its muzzle dripping red. Its breath steamed in the cold air. Ava's mind screamed run, but her body froze. The wolf lunged. She threw herself sideways, hitting the ground hard. Pain shot through her shoulder. The wolf's claws missed her throat by inches, gouging the tree instead. Adrenaline took over. She scrambled to her feet, running blindly through the dark. Branches tore at her hair, slicing her skin. The growls followed, closing in. She tripped on a root and fell again, mud splattering her hands. Her lungs burned, heart hammering so hard it hurt. "I can't do this," she gasped. But then, deep inside her chest, something answered. It wasn't fear. It was heat. A pulse, steady and fierce, as if the moon itself had found a home in her veins. The wolves burst through the trees, snarling. Ava pressed her hand to her chest. Her skin burned under her palm, light flickering faintly beneath it. Silver alive. The first wolf leapt. Instinct made her scream. But it wasn't a normal scream. The air shattered. A sound ripped from her throat. Raw, powerful, impossible. The wave of sound hit the wolves like a force of nature. They yelped and staggered back, their glowing eyes dimming as the forest shook. Ava fell to her knees, panting, trembling. The light under her skin pulsed once more, then faded. The wolves retreated into the mist, vanishing as quickly as they had come. Ava pressed her hands to the dirt, sobbing with relief and shock. "What was that?" she whispered. "What's happening to me?" Above her, the moonlight broke through the canopy, silver and cold. The air seemed to whisper back. "The bond awakens." She looked up sharply, but there was no one there, just the shifting mist. For a long time she stayed there, breathing hard until her body gave out. And as sleep claimed her, she dreamed of golden eyes and a voice whispering in her ear. "Survive and I'll find you." The night dragged on like a fever dream. When Ava opened her eyes again, the moon was high above the trees. Her clothes were torn, her arm bleeding from a shallow cut. Every muscle screamed in protest. Somewhere far off a wolf howled, a long haunting sound that sent chills down her spine. "Just one night," she whispered to herself. "One night and I'll be free." She pushed herself up and began walking. Her legs shook, her breath fogging in the cold air. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Time felt broken in that forest. Snap. Twig. Blows. Ava spun around. Nothing but shadows. But then the scent hit her. Iron, blood and smoke. She turned slowly, heart pounding. "Lucian," she whispered. A low growl answered. From the darkness, another wolf emerged. This one was bigger, darker. Its fur was matted with blood, its eyes glowing red instead of gold. The feral king. The creature lowered its head, muscles coiling. Ava's body moved before her mind could catch up. Ran. Branches whipped her face, roots clawed at her feet. The growls grew louder behind her, closer with every heartbeat. She tripped and fell hard against a rock, pain exploding in her ribs. The world tilted. The wolf's shadow loomed over her. Tears blurred her vision. "Please," she whispered. The beast lunged, and the ground exploded in front of it. A blur of black and gold tore through the air, slamming into the feral king with a roar that made the trees quake. "Lucian." Ava's breath hitched as she watched him shift. His body rippling, bones reshaping until the Alpha King stood before her in his wolf form. Massive, beautiful, deadly. His fur glowed dark under the moonlight, his eyes burning gold. The two wolves clashed, snarls echoing through the night. Claws met claws, teeth tore through flesh. Lucian fought like fury given shape. Every movement was brutal, precise. The feral king lunged again, snapping its jaws around Lucian's shoulder. Blood splattered the ground. Ava cried out, "No!" Lucian's roar answered her, deep and primal. He twisted, sinking his teeth into the feral's throat. With one violent motion he ripped it open. Silence. The feral wolf collapsed, its body dissolving into shadow. Lucian stood over it, chest heaving, blood staining his fur. Then he turned toward her. Ava stumbled back, heart racing, until he shifted again, bones cracking, light shimmering, and there he was. Human again. Bare-chested, streaked with blood and moonlight, his breathing rough. He took a slow step toward her. "You shouldn't have been here." "I had no choice," she said, her voice trembling. Lucian's eyes flicked over her torn clothes, the cuts on her arms. Fury and fear flashed across his face. "I should never have let them send you." He stopped just in front of her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. His hand lifted, brushing gently against her cheek. "You fought," he said hoarsely. "You didn't break." Ava's throat tightened. "I almost did. But you didn't." His gaze softened. "You're stronger than any of them know." For a long moment they just stared at each other. The air between them shimmered, heavy with unspoken words. Then something strange happened. Ava looked down at her chest and gasped. Her skin shimmered faintly, silver light swirling beneath it like liquid moonlight. Lucian's eyes widened. "What are you?" he whispered, almost reverently. "I don't know," she breathed. "It started when I screamed." He reached out, hesitating before his fingers brushed her wrist. The touch sent a pulse of light through both of them, flaring so bright it painted the trees white. Lucian staggered back. "That's the mark," he murmured. "The moon goddess's seal." Ava's pulse hammered. "What does it mean?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "It means you're not just my mate. You're the prophecy itself." She stared at him. "What prophecy?" He looked at her then, eyes full of awe and fear. "The silent Luna, the one whose voice can destroy kings or save them. You carry her power, Ava. You're her rebirth." A chill ran through her body. "You're saying, I can destroy you?" Lucian's jaw tightened. "Or save me." The forest fell silent again, the moonlight bleeding through the trees. Ava's glowing skin dimmed slowly, the light fading until only her normal flesh remained. She looked up at him, voice soft. "What happens now?" Lucian took a step closer. His golden eyes locked on hers. "Now," he said quietly, "the real war begins." The forest was still glowing when they walked out together. Silver mist clung to the ground, swirling around their feet like smoke. The night had quieted after the battle, but the silence didn't feel peaceful. Felt expectant, watching. Ava's pulse still thundered. The light under her skin had faded, but she could still feel it, that strange hum like a heartbeat that wasn't hers. Every few seconds it pulsed again, as if reminding her that something inside her had changed forever. Lucian walked beside her, his steps steady even though blood stained his shoulder. He didn't seem to notice the wound. His golden eyes flicked to her hand every so often, to the faint shimmer that refused to die. "What are you thinking?" she asked softly. He was silent for a long moment. Then, "That the moon goddess just rewrote every rule I've ever known." Ava glanced down at herself. "So this thing inside me, it's her doing?" "Yes." His tone was grim. "You were chosen. The mark only appears once in a generation. It means the goddess has tied her will to you." Ava shook her head. "I didn't ask for this." Lucian stopped walking. "The chosen never do." She faced him, her eyes fierce despite the fear in them. I don't even understand what's happening to me. My skin glows. My voice can kill things. I'm not built for this. Lucian's jaw tightened. Neither was I the first time I changed. She blinked. Changed. He looked at her, his gaze distant. When the goddess chooses an alpha, she burns the human out of him. I screamed for hours. My body broke itself apart. When I stood again, I wasn't just a man anymore. He turned away, his expression unreadable. The goddess never grants power without pain. Ava shivered, hugging her arms. And now she's done it to me. He faced her again, his eyes softening. Not done to you. Given through you. I don't want to be her messenger, she whispered. Then be her weapon. His words startled her. Weapon. Lucian stepped closer, his voice dropping low. She didn't choose you to serve. She chose you to change everything. To end the curse that's haunted our kind since the first howl. Eva frowned. And what curse is that? He hesitated. The curse of the divided moon, when humans and wolves were torn apart. The goddess made both, but one betrayed her. Since then, the worlds have never mixed. She swallowed. And now she's mixing them again. He nodded once. Through you. The air around them shimmered faintly, silver light flickering through the fog. For a heartbeat, Ava thought she saw something. A woman's silhouette outlined in moonlight, watching from the trees. Then it was gone. Let's go, Lucian said. The council will be waiting. When they reached the gates, dawn had begun to rise. The guards flinched when they saw her. Dirty, bloodied, but alive. The council stood in silence, eyes wide with disbelief. The silver-haired elder's voice cracked the stillness. Impossible. She lives, Lucian said coldly. The goddess has spoken. Ava's wrist shimmered again as the light of morning touched it. The elder stepped back, fear flickering behind his arrogance. Lucian moved beside her, protective, commanding. She is Luna. The forest itself accepted her. The blood oath is complete. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some wolves bowed their heads. Others hissed under their breath. She carries power that shouldn't exist, one whispered. She'll bring ruin, said another. Ava clenched her fists, but Lucian's voice silenced them all. She'll bring balance. The elder scowled. You've doomed us all, Alpha King. Lucian's smile was cold. If doom has her face, then I'll welcome it. He turned to Ava. Come. You've faced the wild. Now face the throne. As they walked through the courtyard, every wolf bowed. Some out of respect, others out of fear. The sun rose behind them, gilding the air with light. But even as warmth touched her skin, Ava couldn't shake the whisper still echoing in her mind. The voice that saves will also destroy. The Alpha Court was nothing like she imagined. It wasn't made of glass towers or marble halls. It was a cathedral carved deep beneath the city, lit by torches that flickered blue with strange fire. Runes glowed faintly on the stone walls. The air smelled of smoke and iron. Ava stood close to Lucian, trying not to stare too long. Dozens of wolves filled the great chamber. Alphas from every region, their presence heavy and dangerous. They watched her like she was a loaded weapon, unpredictable and unwelcome. At the far end of the hall sat the High Council, robed in silver and black. Lucian stepped forward, his voice strong and sharp. I bring before you Ava Sinclair, chosen by the moon goddess, survivor of the feral trial, marked by silver fire. The silent Luna. A murmur spread through the hall, a mixture of awe and fear. Ava swallowed hard. Silent Luna, she whispered. Lucian glanced at her. The prophecy calls her that. The Luna whose voice will decide the fate of the wolves. Ava's stomach twisted. So they think I'm some kind of weapon. They don't know what to think. One of the council women rose. Her voice was cold as steel. A human should not stand in this court. Lucian's golden gaze locked on her. Then perhaps the goddess should not have marked one. The room buzzed with low growls and whispers. Then suddenly the great doors at the end of the hall burst open. A gust of cold air swept in, carrying the scent of ash. A tall figure walked through the entrance, flanked by warriors dressed in black. His presence silenced the room. Ava's breath caught when she saw his eyes, crimson, burning with cruel amusement. Lucian's voice darkened. "Ronan." The rival Alpha smiled faintly. "Brother." Ava's chest tightened. "Brother." Lucian's tone turned to ice. "We are not brothers." Ronan's smile didn't fade. "Not by blood, perhaps, but by power. And I see that power has found a new distraction." His gaze slid to Ava, lingering like a touch that made her skin crawl. Lucian moved instantly, stepping in front of her. "Watch your tongue." Ronan chuckled. "I would if you could control her the way you control your wolves. But it seems the little human has already shown teeth." "She is Luna," Lucian growled. Ronan tilted his head. "Luna. Or curse." The room held its breath. Then he stepped closer, eyes gleaming red. "Do you know what she is, Lucian? Do you even understand the danger you've brought into your den?" Lucian's hand twitched at his side. "Enough." But Ronan wasn't finished. He turned his attention to Ava. "Tell me, little one, did he warn you that the goddess gives no gifts without a price? That every power you wield will drain him instead?" Ava froze. "What are you talking about?" Ronan smiled wider. "Oh, he didn't tell you." He looked back at Lucian, his voice dripping mock sympathy. "You should have, brother. When the silent Luna rises, the Alpha King falls. That's how the prophecy ends." Lucian's eyes burned brighter, but his voice stayed calm. "Lies. Are they?" Ronan murmured. "Tell her yourself then. Tell her that every time she uses her voice, your strength fades. That your bond is built on sacrifice, not love." Lucian's silence was answer enough. Ava's heart twisted. "Is that true?" she whispered. Lucian's jaw tightened. "It doesn't matter. It matters to me." Ronan laughed softly, the sound echoing through the chamber. "Ah, she has fire. I like that." He turned, addressing the council. "You call her Luna, but I call her Opportunity. The prophecy says she will crown or destroy the Alpha King. I say we find out which." The elder frowned. "What are you suggesting, Ronan?" The rival Alpha spread his arms. "A duel. Law. Alpha against Alpha. For the right to claim the goddess's chosen mate." Gasps rippled through the hall. Lucian's voice dropped into a growl. "You dare challenge me in my own court?" "I dare anything," Ronan said softly. "Especially when the moon herself favors the prize." Ava's blood ran cold. "I'm not a prize," she said sharply. Ronan's gaze slid back to her, his tone mockingly gentle. "Of course not, little one. Your prophecy, your destiny, your power." "Enough." Lucian's roar shook the chamber, making the torches flicker. "You want a duel. You have it." Ronan smiled, slow, cruel, victorious. "Tomorrow night then, when the moon is full, we'll see which of us she truly belongs to." The council erupted in noise. Protests, excitement, fear. Ava stood frozen, her heart pounding, trying to make sense of what she'd just heard. When the crowd began to disperse, she turned to Lucian, fury and panic in her voice. "You can't do this. You can't fight him because of me." Lucian looked down at her, his expression hard but not unkind. "I have no choice. If I refuse, he takes you by law. I'm not anyone's to take." His voice softened. "I know. But in this world, the goddess's mark is law." Ava shook her head, her hands trembling. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," he said simply. "And I won't lose you." She stared at him, tears burning behind her eyes. "Lucian, if what he said is true, if every time I use this power it hurts you, then what's the point of winning?" He stepped closer, his hand finding hers. His touch was warm, grounding. "The point," he said quietly, is that I'd rather burn beside you than live without you." The words hit her like a heartbeat. For a long moment they stood in silence, the distant murmurs of wolves echoing through the chamber. Then the moon broke through the clouds outside, casting its silver light over both of them. Ronan watched from the shadows near the door, his red eyes glinting with hunger and hatred. "Enjoy your night, Alpha," he murmured under his breath. "Tomorrow she'll kneel beside my throne." He turned and vanished into the darkness, the echo of his laughter lingering long after he was gone. The moon was full that night. It hung above the city like an unblinking eye, pale and merciless. Ava stood on the balcony overlooking the courtyard below. The air was cold, sharp, humming with tension. Wolves had gathered from every pack, hundreds of them, their howls rising in anticipation. The duel had drawn them all. Lucian was down there, bare-chested, the glow of the moon reflecting in his golden eyes. His body looked carved from steel and shadow, each muscle coiled, ready to strike. Ronan stood opposite him, smiling faintly, his crimson eyes gleaming like blood. His aura was darker, heavier, as if the night itself bent toward him. Ava gripped the railing. "This is madness," she whispered. Cassandra stood beside her, arms crossed. "It's law. Once challenged, it must be fought to the death." Ava turned to her. "Why doesn't anyone stop it?" "Because we can't," Cassandra said coldly. "The goddess watches the duel. It's how she chooses the rightful alpha." Ava's heart pounded. "And if Lucian loses?" Cassandra's eyes slid to her, silver and unfeeling. "Then you belong to Ronan." Ava's stomach twisted. She turned back toward the courtyard just as the horn sounded, one long, mournful note. The crowd fell silent. Lucian and Ronan stepped closer, the ground trembling under their feet. The elder raised his staff. "By moonlight and blood, by law and prophecy, the duel begins." Then he dropped the staff. The two alphas exploded forward. Lucian struck first, a blur of motion, his fist connecting with Ronan's jaw. The sound cracked like thunder. Ronan staggered back but grinned, wiping blood from his mouth. "Still fast," he taunted. "But slower than before. I wonder why." Lucian didn't answer. He moved again, a flurry of blows, but Ronan blocked everyone, laughing, his movements too precise, too cruelly confident. Ava's pulse hammered. Something was wrong. She could feel it, a drag, a pull between her heartbeat and Lucian's. Every strike he made seemed to echo inside her chest, draining her, weakening her. Ronan was right, she realized. Our bond is bleeding him dry. Lucian caught Ronan's arm, twisted, and slammed him into the ground. Dust rose. The crowd howled in approval. But as Lucian moved to strike again, his body faltered. His breath hitched. Ronan saw it. He smiled, eyes glowing red. "Ah, there it is. The goddess's gift, a bond that kills." He surged up, driving his elbow into Lucian's ribs, then slammed his knee into his chest. Lucian fell back, blood splattering the ground. "Stop it!" Ava shouted from above. "Please stop." No one heard her. The crowd was too loud, their voices rising like a storm. Ronan grabbed Lucian by the throat and lifted him effortlessly. "You can't win, brother. Every heartbeat she takes from you feeds me." Lucian's eyes burned gold even as his body trembled. "You'll never touch her." "Won't I?" Ronan sneered. "She'll come to me when you're gone. She won't have a choice." Lucian roared, breaking free. His body blurred as he shifted, bones cracking, fur bursting from skin. In an instant, the Alpha King stood before his rival in wolf form, black fur glistening under the moonlight, eyes glowing like fire. The crowd erupted in howls. Ronan shifted too, his wolf massive and dark red, muscles rippling with power. The ground shook as the two beasts collided. Claws slashed, teeth tore. Blood flew through the air. Ava couldn't look away. Every strike felt like it landed on her own skin. Her lungs burned, her chest tight. The bond pulsed violently, out of control. When Ronan sank his teeth into Lucian's shoulder, Ava screamed. The ground beneath her feet cracked, a sharp, echoing sound that silenced the crowd. Lucian faltered, his blood staining the dirt. Ronan raised his head and howled in triumph. Ava's vision blurred with tears. "No," she whispered. "No, please." Something inside her snapped. The silver light under her skin flared to life, burning through her veins. The air around her began to vibrate, the torches flickering violently. Cassandra turned to her, eyes wide. "Ava, what are you doing?" Ava didn't answer. Her hands glowed with that same silver fire. The bond between her and Lucian thrummed, wild and alive. She leaned over the railing and screamed. But it wasn't a sound anymore, it was power. A wave of raw energy exploded from her throat, sweeping across the courtyard like a storm. Wolves fell to their knees, clutching their ears. The moon flared brighter, its light blinding. Ronan's body was thrown backward, crashing into the stone wall. He howled in pain, smoke rising from his fur. Lucian staggered to his feet, dazed but alive. The mark on Ava's wrist burned white-hot, a single thread of light connecting them both. The courtyard was silent. Lucian shifted back, panting, blood dripping down his arm. He looked up at her, and what she saw in his eyes made her breath catch. Not fear, not anger, wonder. She had stopped the fight. But at what cost? Lucian knelt slowly, pressing one hand to his chest. The golden glow in his eyes flickered weakly. "Ava!" She ran down the stairs, pushing through the stunned crowd. When she reached him, she dropped to her knees beside him. "I didn't mean to, I just wanted to save you." He smiled faintly, his voice rough. "You did. But you shouldn't have." "Why?" she cried. He touched her cheek, his hand trembling. "Because every time you use that power, it takes a piece of me." Ava's breath caught. "Then take it back." "I don't want it." He shook his head slowly. "It doesn't work that way." Before she could answer, Ronan stirred nearby, groaning in pain. He dragged himself to his feet, glaring at them both. His face was twisted with fury. "This isn't over," he spat. "The goddess's game has just begun." He turned and limped away into the shadows, his red eyes burning with hatred. Lucian collapsed against her shoulder, exhausted. Ava held him tightly, tears falling silently. Above them, the moon glowed blood-red for just a moment, then faded back to silver. The next morning, the mansion was quiet. Too quiet. Ava sat by Lucian's bedside, watching the slow rise and fall of his chest. His wounds had begun to heal, but his skin was pale, his breath shallow. Every time she reached for his hand, she felt the faint pull of the bond, like something fragile and fraying. She hadn't slept. The image of Ronan's eyes, the sound of her own scream, the sight of Lucian bleeding, they looped through her mind until she thought she'd go mad. Cassandra entered the room, her face unreadable. "He'll live," she said. "For now." Ava looked up sharply. "For now. The bond keeps him alive, but it also drains him," Cassandra said. "Your power feeds on his strength. Every time you use it, you take more." Ava swallowed hard. "There has to be a way to stop it." "There is," Cassandra said. "Break the bond." "How?" Cassandra's silver eyes gleamed. "By learning what created it." She handed Ava a folded parchment. "The archives keep the old laws. They speak of the first Luna, the silent one. Her story might hold your answer." Ava unfolded the paper. The ink was faded, but the words were still legible. The first Luna, born of light and shadow, carried a curse within her voice. When she loved, she saved. When she feared, she destroyed. Her bond with the Alpha King was her power, and her doom. Ava's hand trembled. "So it's true." Cassandra nodded slowly. "You're her descendant. The curse runs through your bloodline. You're not just the goddess's chosen. You're her echo." Ava looked back at Lucian, sleeping, unaware. "And I'm killing him." "Not yet," Cassandra said softly. But soon. Ava clenched the parchment. Then I'll find a way to break it. You might not like what you find, Cassandra warned. Breaking the bond means severing the soul. If you succeed, you may never see him again, in this life or the next. Ava stood, her jaw set. If it saves him, it's worth it. Cassandra studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. Then you'll need to go below. Below. The old dungeons, Cassandra said. They were built on the ruins of the first pack. Some say the goddess herself once walked there. The dungeon was colder than death. Ava descended the spiral staircase with a torch in hand, the air thick with dust and the faint scent of iron. The walls were carved with symbols she didn't understand. Crescent moons, wolves, and spirals of flame. At the bottom, a single iron door waited. She hesitated before pushing it open. Inside, the room was empty except for a single stone altar. Upon it lay a cracked mirror framed in silver. As she approached, whispers filled the air. Soft at first, then louder, forming words. Blood of the Silent One. You seek release. Ava froze. Who's there? You carry the curse. You awaken the old power. You dare to unbind what was written in moonlight. The mirror's surface rippled like water, and a face appeared. Her own, but not quite. The reflection's eyes were silver instead of brown, its smile cruel. Ava stepped back. What are you? I am what you will become, the reflection whispered. The Luna who loses her heart. The goddess's weapon perfected. No, Ava said firmly. I'm not you. You already are. You felt it, the power, the hunger. You saved him, but you wanted more. That's not true. The reflection laughed. It will be. You can't love an Alpha King without destroying him. The bond was never meant for peace. Ava's hand tightened on the torch. Then I'll break it. The reflection tilted its head. To break it you must choose his life or your power. You cannot have both. Ava's chest ached. I don't care about power. I just want him alive. Then bleed for him. The reflection raised its hand, and the mirror cracked. Silver light shot out, wrapping around Ava's wrist, burning like fire. She screamed as pain seared through her veins, the mark glowing blindingly bright. When the light faded, the mirror shattered completely, leaving only silence. Ava fell to her knees, gasping. The mark was still there, but fainter now, weaker. She didn't know if she'd broken the bond or only wounded it. But one thing was clear. Something had changed. She stumbled back up the stairs, heart racing. When she reached Lucian's room again, he was awake. His golden eyes met hers, tired but alive. What did you do? He asked weakly. I made a choice, she whispered, taking his hand. I don't know what it cost yet. He squeezed her fingers gently. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. But behind his words, Ava could feel it. The bond pulsing faintly, fragile as glass, and something dark stirring at its edge. Far away in the forests beyond the city, a new howl rose. Deep, furious, ancient. Ronan had found something too. And the goddess's game was far from over. The night air was colder than usual. A strange stillness hung over the mansion, as though the world itself was holding its breath. Ava couldn't sleep. The moment she closed her eyes, she saw the mirror again. The reflection's silver eyes, the cruel smile, the words that still burned in her mind. To break it, you must choose. She rose quietly and walked to the balcony. The moon hung full above the forest, its light spilling like liquid silver across the courtyard. Her wrist still burned faintly beneath the skin, the mark weaker but alive. Behind her the door opened. Lucian stood there, dressed in black. His golden eyes dimmed with exhaustion. You should be resting, he said softly. She turned to him. I can't. Something's wrong. I can feel it. Lucian stepped closer. The bond. She nodded. It's different now. Winter. But it's like it's listening. He frowned, his gaze moving to the sky. The goddess isn't done with you. A chill ran down her spine. What does that mean? Before he could answer, the air around them shimmered, a faint hum filling the night. The moonlight brightened so bright it hurt to look at. Then the ground fell away. Ava gasped as the world blurred. Her body lifted into the air. Lucian reached for her, but light swallowed them both. When she opened her eyes again, she was standing in a vast, endless field of silver light. The sky above her shimmered with constellations that moved like living things. The air was warm, alive with whispers. Lucian was gone. Ava spun around. Lucian. No answer. Only the wind, soft, singing in a voice that was not a voice. Then, from the center of the light, a figure emerged. Radiant. Cloaked in silver fire. Her hair floated like moonlight, her eyes two stars. Ava fell to her knees instinctively. You're the one they call goddess, the figure said, her voice echoing through Ava's mind and bones at once. Selene, the keeper of balance, the maker of wolves and their bond. Ava's throat tightened. Why me? The goddess smiled faintly. Because the world broke long ago. The wolves forgot mercy. The humans forgot strength. I made you both from the same light, but fear turned you against each other. I'm not like them, Ava said. No, Selene agreed. You are both. The words hit her like a stone. Both. Human by birth. Wolf by fate. My blood runs through you, child of the first Luna. Ava's heart raced. You mean the silent one? The goddess nodded. She failed me once. Her voice destroyed the world I built. You must not do the same. Ava shook her head. I don't want this power. It's hurting him. Selene's gaze softened, almost pitying. Love is never gentle for those bound by fate. You cannot save him by silencing yourself. But if I keep using it, I'll kill him, Ava whispered. Then learn control. The goddess raised her hand. A column of silver light burst from the ground, forming a mirror, not broken this time but whole and gleaming. Your trial begins now. Ava stepped forward, fear gnawing at her chest. The mirror rippled again, and her reflection stepped out. The same silver eyes, the same cruel smile. The goddess vanished, her voice echoing in the air. Face the part of you that hungers for power. Only one may live. Ava's reflection tilted its head. You think you can fight me? I have to. The reflection laughed softly. I am you, Ava. Every piece you hide, the anger, the fear, the power you pretend you don't want. You can't destroy me. Ava took a shaky breath. Maybe not. But I can refuse to become you. Silver light flared between them. The reflection struck first, sending a wave of energy that knocked Ava backward. Pain shot through her ribs as she hit the ground, breathless. The reflection smiled, stepping closer. You're weak. You always have been. Ava pushed herself up. No. I'm human. Exactly. The reflection raised her hand again, another surge of light shooting forward. Ava threw up her arms to shield herself, and this time the light around her responded. It flared, bright and fierce, meeting the blast head-on. The ground split between them, silver fire raining down. Ava screamed, the sound shattering the air. The reflection staggered, clutching its chest as cracks of light spread across its skin. Ava stood, trembling. I don't need to destroy you, she whispered. I just need to accept you. The reflection froze. I am human, Ava said. And I am wolf. I'm both. I'm not your weakness. I'm your balance. The reflection's silver eyes dimmed. The cracks deepened. Light poured out until it shattered completely, dissolving into mist. The mirror melted away. The goddess appeared again, watching with an expression that was neither pride nor pity, only inevitability. You have faced yourself, Selene said softly. Now face the world. Ava's vision blurred. Did I pass? You survived, the goddess said. For now that is enough. The light swallowed her again. When she opened her eyes, she was back on the balcony, gasping for air. Lucian was beside her, holding her tightly. You vanished, he said, his voice rough with fear. Where did you go? She leaned against him, exhausted. To her, the goddess. Lucian's eyes widened. And Ava looked up at the moon, still glowing silver above them. She told me I'm both. He frowned. Both what? A faint smile touched her lips. Human and wolf. Life and death. The balance she lost. Lucian stared at her. Awe and worry tangled in his expression. Then the prophecy was right. Ava nodded slowly. The silent Luna has returned. By morning the mansion buzzed with rumors. Word of Ava's survival and her trial had spread across every pack. Some whispered that she was blessed. Others that she was cursed. Ava ignored them all. Her focus was on Lucian, whose wounds had nearly healed. He moved slower now, but his strength was returning. "You're sure you're all right?" she asked as she helped him dress. He smiled faintly. "You're fussing again. I watched you bleed out in front of me, Lucian. I'm allowed to fuss." He laughed softly, the sound easing some of the tension between them. "Then fuss all you want, Luna." Her cheeks warmed. "Don't call me that. You earned it." Before she could respond, Cassandra entered. "The council has summoned you both," she said briskly. "They've called an emergency session." Lucian's expression darkened. "About what?" "They've seen what she's become," Cassandra said. "And they're afraid." The council chamber was packed. Every alpha sat in silence as Lucian and Ava entered. The elder rose, his voice sharp. "The goddess herself may have chosen her, but that does not make her our queen." "She passed the trial," Lucian said. "The goddess confirmed it." The elder slammed his staff against the ground. "And still, her power is a danger to us all. Last night's surge shook half the city. Do you call that control?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Ava lifted her chin. "I didn't ask for this power. But I won't apologize for using it to save lives." The elder sneered. "And who will save us from you, girl?" Lucian took a step forward, his presence silencing the room. "Watch your tone." But Ava raised a hand, stopping him. Her voice was calm but firm. "You're right to be afraid. The power inside me isn't tame. But I'm learning. And if you lose control again?" the elder demanded. Ava met his gaze. "Then you'll see what happens when a Luna truly awakens." The elder's face paled slightly, but his eyes narrowed. "We can't risk it. You will submit to confinement until the goddess's next full moon." Lucian's growl rumbled through the chamber. "Over my dead body." "That can be arranged," the elder snapped. Before the argument could explode, the air shifted, a strange wind swirling through the chamber, carrying a faint scent of blood and ash. A messenger burst through the doors, panting. "Alpha King. The southern packs, they've been attacked." Lucian's eyes flared gold. "By who?" The messenger swallowed. "Ronan. He's gathered an army. He calls himself the Alpha of Blood." Gasps spread through the hall. Lucian's fists clenched. "He's declared war." Ava's stomach dropped. "Because of me." Lucian turned to her. "No, because of power. He wants the throne and the goddess's favor." The elder's voice shook. "If the Blood Alpha attacks, we'll need every pack. We'll need—" Lucian cut him off. "We'll need her." Every eye turned to Ava. She felt the weight of their gazes like stones. Lucian looked at her, his tone soft but certain. "You said you wanted to fight for something real. Now's your chance. Lead with me." Her throat tightened. "Lead? You mean?" He nodded. "As Luna. As my equal." The room erupted in protest. The elder shouted over them. "Blasphemy! She is human." Ava's voice cut through the noise, calm but carrying like thunder. "Not anymore." The torches flickered. The silver light in her veins began to glow again, faint but unmistakable. The elder stumbled back, whispering, "Moon preserve us." Lucian smiled faintly. "She already has." He turned to Ava, extending his hand. "Come, my Luna. The war begins tonight. She stared at his hand, feeling the heat of the bond between them. Still fragile, still uncertain but alive. She placed her hand in his. Then let's fight for what the moon gave us. The council watched in silence as they left the chamber together. Outside, thunder rolled across the horizon. In the distance, flames rose from the southern forests, the first strike of Ronan's army. Ava looked up at the sky, the silver mark on her wrist gleaming brighter than ever. I won't run anymore, she whispered. Lucian squeezed her hand. You were never meant to run. You were meant to rise. As the first howls of war echoed through the night, Ava felt something shift deep inside her, a spark of destiny burning into fire. And above them, the moon burned brighter, painting the battlefield silver. The courtyard had turned into a camp of shadows. Torches flickered along the walls, and the smell of smoke and steel filled the air. Wolves gathered by the hundreds, some armored, some ragged, all waiting for orders. Lucian stood at the center, barking commands with his lieutenants, his golden eyes sharp as firelight. Ava watched from the balcony above, her heart twisting with equal parts fear and determination. The southern forests burned in the distance. Ronan's army was moving fast. Ava turned to Cassandra. He can't fight this war alone. He isn't, Cassandra said. The northern packs will join us. Ava looked out again. And what about those who won't? The Omegas, the outcasts, the ones no one listens to. Cassandra frowned. They're weak. They'll only slow us down. Ava's voice hardened. Weak doesn't mean useless. Before Cassandra could argue, Ava was already moving. She left the mansion, wrapping a cloak around herself as she descended into the lower grounds, the territory where the Omegas lived. The Omega camp sat at the edge of the woods, a scattering of old huts, smoke curling from low fires. They looked up when she entered, their faces wary, some openly hostile. A broad-shouldered wolf with a scar over his eye stepped forward. You shouldn't be here, Luna, he said flatly. Ava met his gaze. Then tell me where I should be, when wolves are dying for a war that started because of me. A murmur rippled through the group. The man's eyes narrowed. We're not soldiers. The packs cast us out. What do you want from us? Ava took a slow breath. Not your obedience. Your choice. He frowned. Choice. She nodded. You've spent your lives fighting to survive, without a name, without a rank. But tonight I'm asking you to fight for yourselves. For a future where no one decides your worth. The crowd shifted uneasily. One woman with tangled hair spat into the dirt. Easy words from a Luna who's never starved. Ava stepped closer, her voice steady. You think I was born with power. I was human. Helpless. I bled, I ran, I almost died more times than I can count. The only reason I'm standing here is because I stopped waiting for someone to save me. Her words cut through the murmurs. You want respect, she continued. Then take it. You want freedom. Then fight for it. Because the ones burning your homes don't care if you're Omega or Alpha. They just want you gone. The scarred man stared at her for a long moment. And if we fight, what do we get in return? Ava held his gaze. Place. Name. A Luna who doesn't bow to anyone. The silence stretched. Then, one by one, heads began to nod. The scarred man bowed slightly. Then we'll fight with you. Ava's chest tightened with relief. What's your name? Darius, he said. Then you'll lead them, she said. Gather every outcast, every wanderer, every wolf who's been told they don't matter. By dawn we move. By nightfall, the lower camp was alive with movement. Wolves sharpened blades, patched armor, and painted silver streaks across their faces. Lucian found her there. His expression unreadable. You went to them. They needed to hear that they matter, she said simply. He studied the camp. Hundreds of wolves who had once been ignored now standing ready. You gave them purpose. They gave me something too, she said softly. Hope. Lucian smiled faintly. You're turning into quite the alpha yourself. She met his eyes. No. I'm turning into a Luna worth fighting for. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Then let's make them believe in something greater than fear. The drums began to beat. Ava stood before her army. The Omegas, the forgotten, the broken. The firelight danced over their faces, over scars that told stories of loss and endurance. She raised her voice, loud enough for the whole courtyard to hear. They called you weak, she shouted. They left you to rot in the shadows. But tonight, those shadows become fire. A low growl rippled through the ranks. They say you're nothing, she continued, her eyes blazing. But when dawn comes, they'll say your names in fear, because the ones they abandoned will be the ones who end this war. The wolves howled, the sound rolling like thunder. Lucian watched her with pride, and something deeper. The bond between them pulsed faintly, steady, no longer painful but alive with strength. He whispered, "You were never meant to follow. You were meant to lead." Ava smiled faintly, eyes glinting with silver. "Then let's show them why the moon chose us." The army roared behind her, and the howls of the unwanted rose into the night. The next day dawned blood-red. Ava woke to the sound of distant horns, scouts signaling from the forest. Ronan's army was close. She dressed quickly, strapping on a light chestplate. Cassandra entered, her face pale. "The Blood Alpha's forces have crossed the river. By nightfall they'll reach the valley. Then we meet them there," Ava said. Cassandra hesitated. "Lucian won't like it." "He doesn't have to," Ava replied, already walking toward the courtyard. Lucian was there, giving orders. When he saw her, his eyes softened, then darkened with worry. "You're coming with me." "I'm coming for you," she said. "You'll need every advantage you can get." He exhaled slowly. "You're not trained for battle." "I wasn't trained to be Luna either," she said. "But here I am." Lucian couldn't argue with that. "Stay close to me," he said finally. "Only if you promise not to die," she shot back. He smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Deal." The valley spread before them like a wound. Charred grass, smoke rising from the trees, the scent of blood on the wind. Ronan's forces emerged from the mist. Hundreds of wolves in black armor, their eyes glowing red. At their head rode Ronan himself, his crimson cloak billowing, his smile wicked. Lucian's army formed behind him, the Omegas mixed among the elite guards, their faces painted silver. Ava stood beside Lucian, her voice calm despite the tension. "They look ready to kill." Lucian's gaze stayed fixed on Ronan. "So do we." The two armies stood in silence for a heartbeat that felt like eternity. Then Ronan raised his sword. "Kill them all," he shouted. The ground exploded in motion. Wolves charged, claws tearing earth, steel meeting steel. The air filled with howls, roars, and the clang of blades. Ava stayed close to Lucian, her voice carrying commands to the ranks. The Omegas moved like a storm, fast and relentless. But amidst the chaos something felt off, a presence too still, too hidden. Ava turned just in time to see a hooded figure slipping through the smoke, moving straight toward Lucian. "Lucian!" she shouted. He turned, but too late. The assassin's blade flashed silver, plunging toward his chest. Ava threw herself forward, grabbing his arm and pulling him aside. The dagger grazed his ribs, slicing flesh but missing his heart. Lucian spun, striking the assassin down. The hood fell away, revealing Cassandra. Ava froze. "You!" Cassandra's silver eyes burned with fury. "He was supposed to die. You were supposed to break." Lucian's face went pale. "Why?" "Because you betrayed the goddess," Cassandra hissed. "You brought a human into our bloodline. You turned prophecy into blasphemy." Lucian's voice was a snarl. "You were my beta. I was your salvation," Cassandra spat. "Until you threw it away for her." She lunged again, faster than before. Ava reacted without thinking. The silver fire under her skin flared to life, and with one motion of her hand, Cassandra was thrown backward by a wave of light. She hit the ground hard, gasping. Ava stepped forward, her voice trembling with rage. You talk about the goddess, but all I see is jealousy. Cassandra's lips twisted in a bitter smile. Then you've learned nothing. Love is the truest jealousy of all. Lucian moved to strike, but Ava stopped him. No, she said quietly. She's already lost. Cassandra's eyes flicked to the burning battlefield behind them. So will you, she whispered. When he falls. Then, before either of them could react, she drove the dagger into her own chest. Ava gasped. Lucian caught her before she hit the ground. Blood pooled fast, staining his hands. Why? He whispered. Cassandra smiled weakly. Because death is the only truth the moon can't rewrite. Her eyes dimmed, and the light faded from them. Lucian knelt beside her body, silent. The sound of battle still raged around them, but for a moment, everything felt distant, muted, unreal. Ava touched his shoulder gently. She made her choice. Lucian looked up, his jaw tight. And now I'll make mine. He rose, fury blazing in his eyes. Ronan dies tonight. Ava's pulse quickened. Then so do we, if we're not careful. Lucian turned to her. His gaze softening for just a second. Then we'll die together. He shifted, his wolf form erupting in black fire and light, and charged into the chaos. Ava followed, the silver glow of her mark illuminating the battlefield as the tide of war rose to meet them. Above them, the moon burned blood-red once more, as if the goddess herself watched with bated breath. The battlefield burned. Smoke and ash swallowed the valley, turning the moon's silver light into blood-red haze. The sound of war echoed through the night, the clash of steel, the snarls of wolves, and the cries of the dying. Ava stood in the center of it all, her hands trembling, her heart beating in time with the chaos. The silver light in her veins pulsed stronger with every breath, responding to the pain and the rage that surrounded her. Lucian fought at the front, his wolf form a blur of shadow and fire. Every strike he made was precise, every movement filled with fury. Blood stained his fur, but he didn't slow. Ava's voice rose above the noise, carrying through the smoke. Hold the line. Don't let them through. The Omegas, her army, her people, rallied to her call. They fought like the wild storm she had promised them they'd become. For the first time the unwanted were winning. But not for long. From the far ridge, a deep roar shattered the air. Ronan's massive wolf form appeared, his crimson eyes glowing through the fog. Around him shadows gathered, not wolves but creatures of darker magic, twisted by blood and rage. Lucian turned, his golden eyes locking onto the figure in the smoke. Ronan's voice thundered across the valley, half growl, half laughter. Brother, come face the end the goddess promised you. Lucian shifted back to human, his chest heaving, his body slick with sweat and blood. Your end comes first. Ava's heart twisted. She could feel it again, that pull in the bond, faint but dangerous. His heartbeat echoed in her chest. His pain, his exhaustion, everything bled into her. He looked back at her once, his eyes soft. Stay back, he ordered. Don't you dare, she said, voice breaking. We do this together. His expression hardened. If he kills me, you'll be next. Then I'll die fighting beside you. He hesitated, torn between command and love, then nodded once. Then stay close. The ground shook as Ronan approached. He shifted back to human form, towering, bloodied, a cruel smile cutting across his face. You brought your little goddess with you, he sneered. How touching. Ava stepped forward, chin high. You've already lost. Ronan's laughter echoed like thunder. Have I? The moon gave you power, human, but not control. He drew his sword, a blade forged from black silver, pulsing faintly with dark light. Let's see how strong your love really is. He lunged at Lucian. Steel met steel. Sparks burst through the smoke. Lucian countered, his movements fast and brutal. Ronan was stronger, But Lucian fought like a man possessed, fueled by something deeper than rage. Ava could barely keep up, her eyes darting between them, every clash tearing through her like it was her own flesh. The bond pulsed violently, her skin burning as their fight continued. Then Ronan's blade found its mark. The sound was soft, sickening, metal sliding into flesh. Lucian gasped, blood spilling down his chest. Ava screamed, running forward as Ronan pulled the blade free. Lucian staggered, falling to one knee. "Stay back," he choked. Ronan's grin widened. "And so falls the Alpha King." Ava dropped beside Lucian, cradling his face, tears streaking through the dirt on her cheeks. "No, no, please. You promised me." Lucian's eyes flickered, his golden light dimming. "You have to run. If you stay, I'm not leaving you." Ronan stepped closer, sword dripping blood. "Let her stay. It'll be poetic. The goddess's chosen dying beside her broken king." Ava rose slowly, turning toward him. Her body shook, her eyes wet, but the silver fire in her veins began to flare, bright and wild. Ronan raised his sword. "You think your light can save you?" Ava's voice was low and trembling. "No. It's not here to save me." The silver light burst from her body, spilling across the ground like liquid moonlight. The wind howled, the very air trembling. "It's here to end you." Ronan hesitated, his sneer faltering as the light intensified. Ava's voice deepened, layered with something divine. "The goddess bound me to balance. For every life you take, I return the cost." She raised her hand. The light surged upward, wrapping around her like wings. Ronan swung his blade, but the light met it midair, shattering it into shards. He roared in pain as the silver energy struck him, burning through his armor and skin. Lucian watched from the ground, awe and sorrow mixing in his fading gaze. "Ava, stop, Yule." She didn't hear him. She was no longer just herself. The moon's power had claimed her. Her eyes glowed white, her voice carried like thunder. Ronan fell to his knees, his body disintegrating under the light. His last scream echoed through the valley before he turned to ash, scattering into the wind. Then silence. The light around Ava flickered, then collapsed. She fell, her body limp, the mark on her wrist burning faintly before fading to nothing. Lucian crawled toward her, blood soaking the earth. He pulled her into his arms, his hands shaking. "Ava, look at me." Her eyes fluttered open weakly. "I told you. I wouldn't run." He smiled faintly, his lips trembling. "You stubborn, beautiful fool." She touched his face. "Did we win?" He nodded once, the light fading from his eyes. "You did." Her tears fell on his cheek. "Don't you dare leave me." Lucian exhaled slowly, his voice barely a whisper. "I'll wait for you, on the next moonrise." And then his body went still. The light in his eyes went out. Ava screamed, a sound of grief so deep it cracked the air. The silver fire burst from her again, rising into the sky in a pillar of light that split the clouds. The battlefield stilled, wolves falling silent as the moon turned white as bone. Then she collapsed beside him, her heartbeat fading with his. Time stopped. The battlefield was frozen. Wolves turned to stone mid-breath, torches suspended mid-flicker. Only the moon moved, its light shifting until it touched Ava's body. From that light a voice spoke, calm, ancient, endless. "You have fulfilled the prophecy." Ava opened her eyes. She wasn't on the battlefield anymore. She stood in an endless sea of silver light, Lucian lying beside her. He looked peaceful, his wounds gone, his face untroubled. She fell to her knees beside him. "Bring him back," she whispered. "You can do anything. You're the goddess, fix this." Selene appeared before her, her form glowing brighter than ever. "I cannot change what you chose." "I didn't choose this," Ava shouted. "I wanted to save him. And in saving him, you destroyed the balance," Selene said softly. The light that ends darkness must also end itself. Ava shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Then take me. Take my life, just give him back. The goddess watched her for a long moment. Would you truly trade your place in eternity for him? Yes, Ava said without hesitation. 1,000 times. Celine stepped closer, her expression unreadable. Very well. But know this, the moon never gives without taking. To bring him back, you will cease to be my vessel. The light will pass to another. I don't care. The goddess raised her hand. Light enveloped Lucian's body, soft and golden. His chest rose, once then again. He opened his eyes dazed. Ava! But she was already fading, her form dissolving into silver mist. Lucian reached for her. No. No, don't. She smiled faintly. It's okay. I promised I'd find you again. Her voice grew softer, distant. The next moonrise, remember? Then she was gone. The light vanished. The goddess stood alone in the silver expanse, her expression solemn. Balance restored. But peace is never eternal. Lucian awoke on the battlefield, gasping for air. The world had returned to motion. The fires were gone, the sky calm. Around him wolves stirred, dazed, confused. He looked down where Ava had fallen. Only the faint shimmer of moonlight marked the spot. Cassandra's body lay nearby, cold and still. Ronan's ashes blew away with the wind. The war was over. Lucian rose slowly, his strength returning, but his soul hollow. Days passed. Packs rebuilt. The wounded were tended to, the fallen buried. They called him the moon's alpha now, the king reborn by divine will. But Lucian felt none of it. At night he stood on the balcony, staring at the moon. You took her from me, he whispered. The wind stirred, and for a moment he thought he heard her voice. The next moonrise. Weeks later, the moon turned full again. Lucian stood alone in the courtyard. The night was quiet, the air heavy with anticipation. Then a shimmer in the air. Silver mist gathered before him, swirling, brightening until a figure stepped through. Barefoot, cloaked in light. Ava. Her eyes glowed faintly, her voice soft. Told you I'd find you. Lucian froze, disbelief and joy warring in his chest. Ava. She smiled gently. Not the same. Not entirely. The goddess took my power, but she left me my heart. He reached for her, his hand trembling. Then that's all I need. She stepped into his arms, her warmth real, her heartbeat steady. For the first time in what felt like forever, the world was quiet, just the two of them under the moon. Lucian rested his forehead against hers. The world thinks you're gone. Then let's keep it that way, she whispered. Let them believe the silent Luna became legend. He smiled. And what do I call you now? Her eyes glimmered with mischief. Just Ava. The moonlight wrapped around them, soft and eternal. For that one moment time bowed to love, and the goddess watching from above said nothing. Because even she knew some stories were meant to defy fate. The morning after the moonrise felt like waking inside a dream. For the first time in weeks, sunlight touched the ruined valley without the smell of smoke. The world had gone strangely quiet, a silence filled not with loss, but with anticipation. Lucian stood on the balcony of the restored stronghold, his golden eyes fixed on the horizon. Below, wolves rebuilt walls and cleared debris, their howls blending with the wind, songs of mourning and rebirth. He should have felt peace. But his hands wouldn't stop trembling. Every sunrise since the war had felt emptier. Every night, he looked for her shadow in the moonlight. Until last night, when Ava returned. He could still feel her, the warmth of her body, the sound of her voice, the faint heartbeat that matched his. It hadn't been a dream. The goddess had truly sent her back. But Ava was no longer the same. She slept now in his bed, her face calm but her skin faintly glowing under the sunlight. Her mark, once silver, now shimmered gold. Lucian sat beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You shouldn't have come back, he whispered, his voice breaking. You should have been free. Her eyes fluttered open. And leave you to haunt the moon alone. He froze, then smiled despite himself. You're awake. Ava stretched weakly, her gaze soft. Barely. But alive. You're more than alive, he said. You're glowing. She looked at her hands, her eyes widening. The mark changed. Lucian nodded. It did when the sun rose. The goddess must have. She didn't give this to me, Ava interrupted. I think it's mine. He frowned. What do you mean? When she took my power, Ava said slowly. She said something about balance. That the light must pass to another. Maybe it wasn't taken. Maybe it was reborn. As she spoke, the faint golden light under her skin pulsed stronger, spreading through her veins like liquid dawn. Lucian could feel it, warm, alive, unbound. The door opened quietly. Cassandra's second-in-command, Darius, stepped inside. Alpha Luna, he said, bowing slightly. The council demands an audience. Lucian sighed. Of course they do. Ava pushed herself upright. They'll never stop questioning me, will they? Lucian's voice hardened. They'll learn to kneel, not question. Ava touched his arm gently. No. Let me speak to them. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. You've already silenced a war. Let's see if you can silence a council. The throne hall was crowded when they entered. The council of elders stood in a semicircle, cloaked in gray. Behind them, pack leaders and warriors filled the room. Every head turned as Ava and Lucian stepped through the doors. The elder's voice cracked like dry wood. So the rumors are true. The Luna lives. Lucian's tone was sharp. You say that like it's a curse. It might be, the elder said coldly. We saw what her power did, the light that destroyed armies. If that fire still lives inside her, she is a danger to every pack. Ava took a slow step forward. That fire doesn't destroy anymore. It creates. Elder scoffed. A convenient lie. Ava lifted her hand. The golden light pulsed softly, flowing across her fingers. Gasps spread through the hall, not from fear but awe. The light drifted into the air and bloomed into a small, shimmering flower that hovered above her palm. Its petals were made of sunlight. This is the goddess's balance, Ava said. She gave me power but not to rule, to heal what you broke. The elder's jaw clenched. Blasphemy. No mortal commands the moon's will. Lucian's voice thundered across the chamber. Then perhaps you should ask the moon herself why she gave her voice to one. The hall fell silent. Ava's golden eyes, now more luminous than ever, met the elder's. The goddess didn't choose me to obey. She chose me to rebuild. The elder faltered. Rebuild what? Everything, she said simply. The bloodlines. The peace between wolves and humans. The world you ruined with fear. The crowd stirred. Wolves who had lost families in the war nodded faintly. Others whispered her name. Ava continued, her voice calm but carrying power. We will no longer live in shadows or wars born of pride. Every outcast, every omega, every child who's been told they're nothing, they have a place in this world now. Lucian watched her, pride swelling in his chest. She wasn't the frightened girl from that first flight anymore. She stood like a queen born from the moon itself. The elder finally bowed his head. Then may the goddess judge us all. He knelt. One by one the others followed. Ava turned to Lucian, breath trembling. Did that just happen? He smiled. You made kings kneel, Luna. Believe it. Her laughter, soft and shaky, filled the hall, echoing like sunlight on water. For the first time since the beginning of it all, peace didn't feel impossible. But far beyond the stronghold, in the ruins of the southern woods, something stirred. A whisper on the wind, a shadow moving where no shadow should exist. And it spoke her name. Weeks passed. The packs united under one rule, the rule of the reborn Luna and the Alpha King. Wolves rebuilt cities beside humans. The bloodlines mixed, and for the first time in centuries, peace didn't feel like a dream. Ava walked through the courtyard each morning, watching children play where soldiers once trained. Her mark, golden and soft, glowed faintly whenever she touched the air. She could sense life now, every heartbeat like a whisper in her mind. But sometimes late at night that whisper changed. Darkened. She told herself it was only exhaustion, until the dreams began. Every night she heard it, a voice that sounded like her own, whispering from the darkness. The voice that saves will also destroy. She woke each time with her heart pounding, her hands glowing faintly red instead of gold. Lucian noticed the change before she admitted it. One evening, as they stood by the balcony watching the moon rise, he said quietly, "You're not sleeping." Ava looked away. "I'm fine." He turned her gently to face him. "You're lying." She hesitated, then exhaled. "It's the dreams again. The whispers are back." Lucian's eyes narrowed. "What do they say?" "The same thing the goddess warned me before, that I'll destroy everything I built." Lucian cupped her face in his hands. "You won't. You've already proven you're stronger than prophecy." She wanted to believe him. But deep inside, a new fear was blooming, a pulse of power that didn't belong to her golden light. That night, as the moon climbed high, she felt it again, stronger this time. A shadow moved at the edge of the room. Ava froze. "Lucian." But Lucian was asleep beside her. The shadow took form, coalescing into a figure of smoke and light. When it spoke, the voice was unmistakable. Her own. "Did you really think balance came without cost?" the shadow whispered. "You killed me when you chose peace. Now I'm coming back." Eva backed away. "You're not real." The shadow smiled. Her exact smile but twisted. "I'm what's left of the curse. The part of you that the goddess couldn't destroy." The air around them shimmered, and for a heartbeat, Ava saw flashes of fire, cities burning, wolves howling in agony. A future not yet written. "No," Ava gasped. "I ended this war." "You ended nothing," the shadow hissed. "You only delayed it. Light cannot exist without shadow, and you are both." Ava screamed as pain shot through her chest. The mark on her wrist flickered violently, shifting from gold to red. Lucian woke instantly, grabbing her shoulders. "Ava! What's happening?" She clutched his hand, eyes wild. "It's back. The curse, she's back." The room shook. The torches flared, their flames turning black. Lucian pulled her close, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "Then we fight it together. Like we always do." Ava nodded weakly, her breath ragged. "But if I lose control?" He cut her off, pressing his forehead to hers. "Then I'll bring you back. Every time." The shaking stopped, the torches dimmed. The shadow vanished for now. Ava slumped against him, tears streaking down her face. "I thought it was over." Lucian held her tightly. "Stories like ours never really end. They just wait for the next moon." Days later, the packs gathered for a coronation unlike any before. Wolves and humans stood together as Ava and Lucian walked hand in hand toward the altar under the open sky. The goddess's sigil glowed above them, marking a new age, one born of both blood and light. When the ceremony ended, the crowd knelt, chanting her name. "Luna! Luna!" Ava smiled faintly, her golden eyes sweeping over the horizon. For a heartbeat, everything was perfect. But in the reflection of the ceremonial blade, she saw it. Her shadow standing behind her, its eyes red and waiting. "The voice that saves will also destroy." The words echoed faintly through her mind, carried by the wind, fading into the distance. Lucian noticed her go still. "Ava!" She forced a smile. "Nothing," she whispered. "Just the wind." He squeezed her hand. "Then let it blow. We'll face whatever comes next together." The crowd cheered as the moon rose above them, bright and full, bathing the courtyard in light. Ava lifted her face to the sky, the golden mark glowing faintly against her skin. For now peace reigned. But in the shadows cast by that perfect moonlight, Something ancient stirred again. Patient, waiting, whispering of endings not yet written. And though Ava smiled beneath the cheers, the echo of that whisper lingered like a secret only she could hear. The silent Luna has risen. The world will tremble again. This concludes Book 1 of the saga, the prophecy fulfilled, yet only half complete. The next arc, The Shadowed Moon, would follow Ava's struggle against the dark half of her own soul, the return of the ancient Luna who seeks to reclaim the world through her voice. The moon has risen. But the story is far from over. If you felt the bond, the fire, and the darkness of Ava and Lucian's world, don't let it end here. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter of this werewolf saga. Drop a comment below. Tell me what moment shook you the most or who you think the real villain might be. And if you believe love can defy prophecy itself, type #moonbound in the comments so the pack knows you're one of us. The next moon is rising, and trust me, you'll want to be here when it does.